This video here is going to be showing how to build the propane smelter that I had in my last video. There's going to be all the stuff that you need. It's going to be 15 pounds of refractory cement, bag of quickrete, doesn't matter which kind it is, steel pipe, which this one is 6.5 inches wide by 16.5 inches tall, so it fits perfect in this pail. And then you need this steel pail, which is pretty much anyone whatever steel like this. This one covers piles. You need to use this cover, which is really simple. You just need about 2 feet of a 3/8 inch rod, about 2 feet 1/4 inch rod, and then this is a 4.5 steel inch, just a regular steel pipe that I found. You can use a bigger one if you want to make your smelter a little bigger, then you need to upsize your other pipe. Then you just need a steel plate to fit on the bottom of that. And then some fire brick. I'm not sure how much you need of that. Doesn't really matter if you have the concrete on there, or the quickrete. And 2 blower fans, and some piping for that. I'm going to try the 2 of them this year. Last year I had 1. So maybe this will get a little bit warmer. Hopefully. And then the weed burner, which you can, I got this one from Nards, about $60. And this pipe, here's where the weed burner fits into. Doesn't matter what size you get, you just have to get whatever size fits in there, which I got this one off eBay. And then you just need a 90-degree turn piece, which this one I just welded in right here. You can see that. It's pretty simple. Just weld that all together. That should be all the stuff that you need to build this. So the second thing is to build your crucible, which this one is a 4.5 inch pipe, and it's roughly 4.5 inches tall. And like the handle is pretty simple. You just need a 3/8 inch piece of metal, and just take the torch or drill and just blow a hole in the side. And then you just gotta heat it up and then bend it. It's pretty simple. And you just need a flat steel plate, which has to be pretty thick. This one's about 1/4 inch. The last one, you need a thicker one because the last one burned a hole in it. So, and then you just have to make sure it's pretty level, and then just weld it on. What I'm gonna do is weld it on from the inside, and then you take the torch and then you cut it around right here so it's not as wide. And then you just put another smaller bead right in the crack where the 2 pieces metal meet. And I'll show you that after I'm done welding them. Okay, so here's the finished welding all. Here's what that looks like. You can see, it doesn't really matter how good you weld on the inside, just to kind of fill in the extra space there so the whatever you're melting, it doesn't get stuck on the corners, and it's really easier to scrape it out. All you just need to do is just pretty much weld the outside here, and then the testing to see if it leaks. Just take a gallon bucket and just dip it in there, and if any water leaks onto the inside, then I'll just kind of weld it up again. Pretty simple to do that. So, and then the other thing you have to do with this is make the spout, which what I did was just take the torch and you just heat it up with a torch and just hit it out with a hammer. And then make sure it's right in the center of the handle and where you have the bars holding it up. Because then it's a little bit easier to pour anyway. So the other thing is with the Crucible is that you have to make a hook on the bottom, which is just a 1/4-inch piece of rod. And all you gotta do is make into a hook, so that you can just use one of, so you can hook this piece in there. And this piece here is just a 1/4-inch piece. It's about 14 inches tall. You just gotta bend the handle over and then make it down into the center, so that it's easier to balance. And then for the hook part here, just a 14-inch piece of 3/8-inch rod, and then you just have to bend it up to heat up, and then heat the center up here, and then just bend it over so it fits in the pipe, and then just measure over about 1 inch, and then you just gotta bend it straight out, and then once you get that, then you gotta heat this piece up on top here, and then just bend it out and put a support piece in there. And this is about 1.5 inches there, and then so that doesn't bend over when you are melting the metal. And then the other thing is you have to do a hook piece, so that'll hook in there just like that. And you can make this bigger or smaller or whatever you want. Just a 3/8-inch piece, it's about 6 inches about this right here, and that's about 5, so you can do whatever you want there. So the next thing you would want to do is take this piece of pipe here where the weed burner goes into, and then just set it up on the bottom of your pail, and then you just have to take a marker and mark it out and cut it out. And that's pretty much everything with that piece. And then, which I got this one cut out here, so it should be just like that. And then make sure it's, well, this one's a little bit lower. You should put it up just above, right above the bottom of the pail. And then it would have to come in from the inside, so it fits in there just like that. It's gonna be a little bit extra space, but the smaller the better anyway. Then after you cut the hole in the pail, and the next thing you want to do is the same thing with the piece of pipe that you have. Just measure it all right up on the bottom, and just trace it out and just cut it out. Make sure it's about 1/4 inch up off the ground, or 1/4 inch higher than the pipe, so that it fits in there better then. And then after that, you would want to take it, put the piece back into the pail, and then put your pipe in there. And the angle piece here on the bottom should fit right up on the bottom of the pail. And then this piece should be level right against the pail, and then right in the corner there, it should have a pretty good fit. It doesn't have to be perfect because you can be filling in with the mortar anyway. So, and then the other thing is from where the 3 points is there to hold up your crucible, from the top part of that, it would have to be about 2 inches higher. So in order to do that, all you need to do is you just got to measure from the bottom to the top of your pipe, which this one's about 6 inches, and then to the top of the holder piece right there is about 8. So then you just have to take your pipe back out and then measure it from the bottom up to about 8 inches. Well, this is close enough. And then all you gotta do is make a mark on the top, and then whatever piece you're gonna have hold the crucible up, which this one is about 1 by 1 inch solid piece of metal. It's about 2 inches long. Then you just have a put a straight line from the top of that 8 inches, and then just take this piece and trace it out from the level piece on top, and then you just have it cut that out. Make sure the top piece is the level side, because then when you take it, you just have to hold it in there, and then hold it against the top piece and weld it on so that it doesn't move. And these pieces can be a little bit smaller, but the thicker the better, because before they're just about ready to melt on me last year. So, and then what you can do after, when you're doing that, just measure out around the pipe, and then you just divide that by 3, which will give you the centerpiece of this rod here. And then you just keep going around, and just whatever the distance is, then you just keep marking it off, and then it should give you a pretty even circumference around the pipe anyway. Then after all that, just make sure everything lines up like how you want it, and then make sure the crucible sits in pretty level, so you won't really be able to adjust it once you get the quickrete in there. And then you can have your pipe about 1 inch taller than the steel pail, or 1.5 inch. So if you want to make it bigger, and then it works better for the cover anyway. When it's taller, it seals up better. So once you get all that finished, then line up your piece of pipe with that other piece down there so it's all perfect, and make sure it's even as possible. And the next thing you want to do is take the ceramic mortar and then just start packing it in around this piece of pipe here, and mostly around the corner of that bottom one there, because that's where most of the flame is going to be hitting. That if you don't have the ceramics in there, it's just going to melt out that pipe. And I'll show you that in a little bit then. So here's what the mortar should look like on the bottom of the pail. Should be something similar to that. I put a lot extra on, but doesn't matter because you're going to have about a fourth of the pail left over anyway, so got some to waste. And then when you're done with that, once you get that pipe stable, and just put this piece in, and then you should be able to still move it around, and then just line it up so it's even around the edges, so it'll be easier to put your fire brick in later on. And then you want to make sure that you have about at least a 1/4 inch of that ceramic mortar around that whole entire pipe, all the way up to the top. And you can also put some on the outside, just like that, just to get it to a better seal. And then the next thing you need to do is get the quickrete ready, and then start mixing it up. And then just take a jar or a little garden shovel or something and start putting it around the sides there. You can make it a little bit more watery. That's what I did last time. It seemed to work a little bit better. And then you want to make it right up to the top so it's even with the top of that pipe. And then you can do the same thing around the outside. So now once you get the concrete up to about to the right level where you want it, now you gotta get your fire brick, and then you gotta take the grinder now and then just grind away so your fire brick fits in there. So you have to grind off I'll show you here. You have to grind it off in the circle, and you have to cut off these corners then, and then so they slide right in. And then with your quickrete, you're going to have to make your quickrete a little bit more runny, because the fire brick it soaks up the moisture really fast, so then you have extra spaces. So then I'll show you that then. There, so that's what the fire brick should look like after you're done cutting it. And then when you're cutting it, make sure you're out downwind, or because it makes quite a bit of dust from it with the grinder, unless you have some other way to cut it. And then just make it round like that. So it should be able to slide. I'm going to be able to slide just like that. And then you just have to take the quickrete. You got to make it a lot more liquid than normal. And then you should be able to pour it in the cracks here. You shouldn't need to pour in that one because it should be well insulated enough. So then you just keep doing that till you're around the whole circle. And then if these little notches here get in the way, you might just have to take the hacksaw or something and cut a little piece off of it and just make it so it fits. So, and I'll show you that when that's all done. Well, here's what it looks like with the fire brick all around it. I'm just going to be filling the rest in with the quickrete. You can put doesn't matter how much fire brick or concrete you have, really. Just makes it a lot lighter, because with all the quickrete in here, it gets pretty heavy when it's all finished. By about 60-70 pounds. So then here's what it looks like when the concrete's all finished. Then you got a nice even surface on there, and that's pretty much all of that. Then that's all you. Pretty simple. And the last thing you need to do is make the cover, and then fold up about an inch on the top, so the cover fits around there just like that. And then how I built this cover was, you just take about an 1/8 inch piece of steel, and then you just mark off like this here. You just mark it off 6.5 inches from this line up to this line, and then you measure out another inch to about right here, and then you just take make these little lines, and then you cut up these lines, and then you take this piece here, and then you heat it up, and then you just bend it down to a 90, which will give you it'll be similar to that. It's not the straightest thing, but it keeps the heat in. And then just put a spot weld on there just to seal it up a little bit better. And then just pretty much make that design all the way around the whole entire top piece. And then it should be most efficient. And then the handle's just a 3/8 inch rod. That's just bent over. That's just bent. Pretty easy. And I just weld that on. And this piece is just a 1/4 inch bolt drilled through there for the main cover. And then you gotta put a handle on there so we can grab it a little bit easier, and then cut about a 2.5 inch hole or whatever you need on top. I made this one big enough to put pop cans in, so might you need any bigger, or just cut it bigger, whatever, smaller. And that's pretty much, that's how you build a propane smelter then. And then you gotta let it cure for about a day or two. So after letting the smelter sit for a couple 2 days to let the concrete cure a little bit, and it's time to set everything up then. Just gotta get your propane tank and hook it up to your weed burner, and then the hair dryers. Bet you can't get those from Walmart. These are just the cheapest ones. So, and then you just have it hook it up to your 2-inch pipe, which goes right into the back of your weed burner like that. And then your weed burner should fit right into the pipe. And that should be everything. Now I'll start it up here. Which you could just use the regular smaller torch. That's how you start that. You shove the torch in the back there. Or you can do it from the top. And then you just probably have to let the concrete cure for 2 days. And then after you start it up for the first time, probably want to just keep it on lower temperature and for about a half hour to dry out the concrete a little bit more. Or else the top piece will start popping on you. So. Well, thanks for watching, and hopefully your smelter turns out just like this one.